And hello, welcome to episode 13 of What Else is New. I am Kelly Green. It is Sunday morning, January the 26th, 2025. Welcome to my show. We're going to be running through a whole bunch of material that I got lined up on my laptop here. So without any further preamble, let's just get on to it. We're going to start out with Clayton Thomas-Muller, and he is speaking after it was found out that Leonard Peltier was going to be granted clemency. So he's offering some thoughts on that, and he's also offering a really, really excellent bit of wisdom. So let's just check that out.
You know, these times are crazy with the rise of fascism across Mother Earth, to try and stifle the progress that the global climate justice movement has made in terms of keeping fossil fuel in the ground, and they will go to no end of lengths to suppress indigenous collective rights, to suppress land back, to suppress a scaled response to the existential threat of climate change. And but the great thing about these times is that, I've been around long enough to see these cycles come and go, and when you don't win one revolution of time, you're always going to get a chance to take another shot. And it's in these times where fascism rears its ugly head that heroes are forged in the fire of resistance and community organizing and power building, base building.
So I want to talk about the heroes being forged. So speaking with a neighbor about these words of Clayton Thomas-Muller, and then relating that to the actions and words of Bishop Budde, who I'm sure you're all very much familiar with, it was suggested that I should make a video just about that, just about the forging of heroes in troubled times. And that is a plan. I'm going to work on that. I've got a couple of heroes picked out, including Clayton, Bishop Budde, another gentleman I'm going to be featuring in this video later on. But if you have any suggestions for heroes that are forged in hard times, please do drop me a note. I would love to feature them in the upcoming feature.
Building. Where they're awoken, they're born, or they are reawoken. Those of us that have been burnt out a few times, had our asses handed to us by our enemies a few times, maybe been our own worst enemy. Well, those heroes and sheroes are reawoken in these moments. And so I, for one, am really excited that we're starting this battle time, this time to really rise up and organize in the face of Trump. I'm really excited that we're starting this off with Uncle Leonard Peltier coming home, and there's lots more work to do, but I believe in all of you, and I will see you out in the streets and out on the lands.
Beautiful message from Clayton Thomas-Muller. You can find him on many of the socials. This one is coming off of the YouTube. You can find his channel there. I'm going to leave all the links for all of this stuff in the show description notes. So yeah, click on all that stuff. Okay, so this is from the Bad News Show, Joey Only, Caribou Weather Dude. Almost 7,000 subs on his channel. He's generally known for doing the weather and trying to make it funny. Real hard-working dude. Very prolific, does a ton of quality videos. He's just recently gotten into talking about politics, so talking about the news, bringing other larger picture things into it, and he is going to make a little discussion.
Okay, roll this. Let's watch this for a minute.
Sorry about that. He's making a little discussion about Bishop Budde, or Budde. Budde? I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name properly. Anyways, check this out.
I want you to see this.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
Okay, pretty brave thing.
Now, wasn't that just the best of Christianity coming through? It's beautiful. I encourage you to find, if you haven't seen the longer form video with the actual response in real time of Trump and his whole family, check that out. And just, it's amazing just to watch the impact of these truthful, gentle words from this woman just sinking in. They can't believe it. It's very, very powerful stuff. And yeah, incredible. There's a campaign right now to send postcards in support of Bishop Budde. So if you're following me on Facebook, you can get that address, or maybe I'll leave a link in the show description for that as well. Definite modern hero. Let's give a little more time to Joey Only here and see what he has to say as a follow-up.
To say, and to me, she's exemplifying the message of Jesus, like the actual message. And you're going to wonder why, are you an expert on religion now too, Joey? Well, actually, don't get me started. Actually, I was on my way to being a minister as a young man, and I stopped dead in my tracks. I know very, very well. And it's this kind of response that shockens and sickens me, that the religious right in America can't see this for what it is. They can't just say, this is a totally narcissistic, toxic guy who really doesn't have any of anybody else, any compassion, any giving, so like the entire message, like I don't understand what these people think Christianity is about. I don't get it. And I guess that's why, 30 years ago or less, I said, I don't want to be part of this. This place, people are not honest here. They're not honest with themselves. They think they're doing more positive in the world than they are. They're not giving all their clothes. They're not. Anyways, this is what the swine says. He says
Yeah, well, we're going to leave it at that. I don't really care to highlight anything of what that guy has to say that Joy was featuring. Anyways, it's kind of interesting. He was going to go into the ministry. He has a awakening how utterly wrong that might be. There's some problems with the church. And he ends up being a punk rock country musician, an activist, into mutual aid and all kinds of wonderful things. Yeah. Check out Joey Only. Check out his music. Check out his history. Check out his weather reporting. It's spot on. It's excellent. And throw him some support where you can. Now, back over to the hero department. We've got John Flynn. John is a singer-songwriter. I came across him. He was doing a tribute show on his live YouTube channel. He's doing a tribute show to Chris Christopherson when he had passed away last year. And I've been tuning in most Friday nights to catch his, what's he call it, Busk After Dusk, BAD, B-A-D, Busk After Dusk with John Flynn. He's an excellent guy. His politics are bang on, and he's talking about fighting fascism, having hope in the world, doing gigs and different things like this. But what I wanted to show, just to give you a little bit of a taste on where his politics are intersecting with his music, I'm going to play a little bit of Sisyphus.
I'll keep pushing for justice, and I'll keep pushing for peace. I'll keep trying to see the best in everyone I meet.
Yeah, that's great. As you can tell, I'm feeling a little bit inspired. This is good Sunday morning stuff. I missed church again for like the 400 millionth time in a row, but this will be like church for me this morning. So let's go check in with Sandy, see what she's preaching on about.
Like Facebook with little Marky Fascist now. So a lot of my friends are getting off Facebook and they really want me to. But, I'm hot. Turn that heat down. Had a talk with my family about it. We have a family chat. We talked about going to Signal. We talked about going to all these other things. My mom is 90. We talk every single day that way. Every day, all day, we chat.
Yes, the Facebook. Everyone probably my age or around is on the Facebook. I'm still on there. I still got the Twitter account for different reasons. After that latest Musk bit, seriously thinking of ditching that. Anyways, we're going to move right along so we're not here all day. Hell is here. Enough already. No thanks. Hell is here. In the next 100 days, we'll tell the tale of whether we survive it or not. This is a super hard-hitting piece by D. Earl Stevens from January 21 of 2025, where he says it is worse than many of us imagined. We're in the middle of a national emergency. Every day of the next 100 will be key because hell is rolling downhill fast right now. Does our mainstream media finally do its job and sound the alarms? Do they relentlessly call power to account for their actions? No, but we can see that some might be prepared to. Do they tell us just what in the hell is really going on here by giving the incineration of our democracy and law and order the bandwidth and context it deserves? Probably not. Do they break into their horseshit regular broadcasting to let America know it is under attack? See if we can get that a little bigger for you. Probably still can't read that. Do they report on what Americans should be doing to mitigate and stay safe from this onslaught? No. However, there are a lot of resources out there. People are getting organized. Do so right in your own neighborhood with the people that you know, and be sure to stay informed. Okay. Well, do we really have to say anything about Alfred E. Newman throwing up in his Make America Great Again hat? I was curious. This is coming from Environmental Coffee House. This is a rare posting. They've got 20,000 followers on this Facebook page. Yet, like most Facebook pages of import talking about politics, left politics, or the environment, or any other number of subgenre issues in that left camp, generally posts are in the single digits as far as interactions are concerned. This one really took off. We got well over 300 interactions, likes and whatnot. We got 85 shares, 100 comments. It's kind of cool. I fell into a Alfred E. Newman rabbit hole slightly. I wanted to find out actually if that picture was an original or if it was kind of mashed up. So I was reading along, and I came across the politics part on Alfred E. Newman, and I thought that this little bit, let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. I don't know if you can read that. It's kind of funny. During an interview on May 10, 2019, President Donald Trump said, Alfred E. Newman cannot become president of the United States, in reference to presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg. He is funny sometimes in a dangerous, psychopathic, fascist, autocratic, narcissistic way. Anyways, Alfred E. Newman, love that guy. Speaking of climate, which I wasn't, but we're going to now, I've got a tiny little segment with Paul Beckwith talking about the Thwaites Glacier.
Thing that, maybe that'll go in a few days. I don't know. Anyway, so this was my video here, just posted at 10:02 p.m. last night. Okay, so this is what the ice shelf looked like yesterday, and this is what it looks like today. Okay, that crack has just opened up, and we've got this whole section moving away. Okay, I was going to film on this topic. About a third of the Arctic boreal region is now a source.
So that was, for the, I guess, the uneducated, as a lay person looking at that picture, there wasn't really a whole lot of stark difference between the before and after. But for someone like Paul Beckwith and other scientists and climate watchers, ice watchers, glacier watchers, whatnot, Antarctica enthusiasts, that was quite a significant development, as he'd made that video at 10 o'clock on the one night. In the overnight, people are messaging him saying, hey, did you see the latest picture? Where he has to then revisit his material and make a second video updating it. So I guess the point is that things are moving along so rapidly that it's surprising even to the people that are watching and keeping an eye on things all the time. It also speaks to an interesting situation for content producers and anyone trying to capture or talk about current events or news or what have you, is that sometimes you have to stop, focus in on a subject, and really dig into it and produce your content. But meanwhile, everything else in the world is just racing by. So I don't know about you other content producers out there, but sometimes that's very difficult for me to ignore that other stuff and stay focused on one particular story until it's thoroughly covered. Maybe that's why I like this format where it kind of mixes it up. I just touch a little bit on each story as we go. Okay, there was another duplicate clip of Paul on the glacier loss topic to continue. This is from January 23rd, 2025, SciTech Daily. And it's talking about how 91% of Svalbard's glaciers have significantly shrunk since 1985, losing over 800,000 square kilometers. So these circles represent the size of meters per year to the -1. So that's loss, that's the retreat of the ice, which, as you can see, most of the ice is retreating and a couple of places it's advancing. Not a big surprise, I guess. Nothing new there except for an interesting map. The cryosphere is melting, and that does not spell good news. A concomitant result of climate change and global warming, melting ice, is we have fire. And part of the problem with fire, of course, is smoke. And this little video just shows these farm workers in California struggling to get through their day, get the crops in, make their wage under massive amounts of smoke. I think this was the Hughes fire. There was also lately a large amount of problems related to a giant toxic battery fire. I'm going to get into that here in a bit. Also, you may have caught some headlines this week that many, it's even been reported of as many as 3/4 of the farm workers since the ice raids started last week. Up to three quarters of the farm workers just aren't showing up for work in fear of being rounded up by ice. Tragic situation. Oh my goodness, look at all these clips we got lined up. Okay, this is a little bit of a mind shift. This says mind control revolution. Let's see what we got here.
We are opening the door to a world where we will communicate directly with a computer through thought. A world where we will be able to share our thoughts and our emotions through the internet. We can envision a future in which we are able to read the thoughts of others and even to manipulate them.
We're building technology to read the activity of all the neurons in these brains and to write activity to control and manipulate the activity of these neurons in the brain. And these technologies are necessary to be able to cure human patients. But the same technology is neutral. It could be used for good or for bad. The same technologies to read and write activity into brains can be used to decipher what people are thinking or to influence the activity of the minds of people. So you say, well, this is science fiction. Well, not really.
Yes, not really in the realm of science fiction anymore. That's interesting. The channel is called Wokomo Docs, 300,000 subs. Looks pretty good. I invite people to definitely check that out. The link will be in the show description. Moving on. Oh, this is an interesting little story out of Europe from Democracy Now!, January 23rd, 2025.
In the Netherlands, climate activists with Greenpeace celebrated Wednesday after a judge ordered the Dutch government to dramatically cut nitrogen emissions by 2030. Greenpeace successfully argued the Dutch government failed to uphold European regulations limiting nitrogen oxide emissions due to farms, fertilizer, and automobiles.
It's definitely a victory after decades of inaction. I think this verdict really shows that the plans of previous cabinets are not adequate, and now they actually have to come up with a plan. And I think that's very necessary given the current state of nature.
The move is expected to face intense backlash from right-wing parties that form the Netherlands' current ruling coalition and farmers who fear having to reduce their livestock. This is it.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see some more farmer protests as a result of that. I haven't dug into it thoroughly and all the different nuances, but like the truckers in Canada, it feels like it's a group of people that's kind of being turned against this in a weird way. I love truckers. I love farmers. I don't love it when, they're being douchebags and spewing diesel and, saying that climate change, that we shouldn't do anything about it or any of the other environmental issues. Whatever. I'm not well spoken enough on the farmer issue to speak on that intelligently. So just ignore. Trump's energy emergency order explained. This is from Energy Media, Canadian YouTube channel, with, I think, Markham Hislop is his name. 6,000 subs. Let's see what he or his
But I do
interview
think
subject.
what's happening
Kristen.
is that he's listening to people in the tech industry that are concerned about not enough electricity generation for their data centers, for their AI projects. Those data centers need a tremendous amount of electricity, and they need it to be a steady source, a 24/7 source of electricity, because data centers run all the time. So what they want is a steady source of electricity, and that's, I think, where the emphasis on fossil fuels comes in.
See, I get the power sector. I sit on the media panel for the U.S. Energy Association, and once a month, I'm not there every month, but usually there are power sector executives who are on the experts panel. We get to ask them questions, do interviews with them.
I think I have another clip with him going a little bit more specifically into stuff. Oh yeah, maybe that is it. Let's get rid of this new little tab. But they're talking about, I guess they're sort of analyzing Trump's energy emergency order that he signed last week, and they're pinning that on the need for AI. Now I don't think Trump or the big tech bros, when they announced Stargate as well last week, I don't think they made that connection for the power specifically, but we're going to touch on it again probably in some of this content here this morning. It is an emergency. If they want AI to go forward, they're going to need the juice.
During the briefing, and so there'll be 5 executives on at a time, and we've done this a number of times over the last couple of years. My point here is that I've had a chance to listen to the concerns expressed by the people who are running the system operators, the utilities, and so on, and they're having big problems because demand is increasing. The latest one I saw was 3.5% per year going forward. That's incredible growth. The American grid is already old and creaky. It's not, they're just modernizing it. They can't get equipment. So if they want a transformer, for example, it's years out from the time you put in the order when you'll actually get one. There are all sorts of regulatory and what they call red tape. So, permitting.
Well, there was all sorts of regulatory red tape, but it sounds like the latest POTUS is going to do away with that, and they're going to be on the fast track to get more energy to feed these hungry AI data centers. It's massive. It's something to watch. Something we did not see coming a few years ago, that is for sure. And I'm sure that the climate scientists and those that are crunching the numbers with regards to power demand and power availability and the drawbacks from that, the CO2 emissions, the carbon footprint, if you will. I'm sure a lot of that math is being rewritten. How many times do I got that guy there? Hearing stuff in my house with the headphones on. Anyways, we're going over to the toxic lithium battery fire. A little.
It's at a Moss Landing Vistra plant, and they store lithium batteries. First, I want to show you, because I'm certainly no expert on the toxins or anything like that, but common sense, some of the things that were coming out from the local EPA, the fire department there, didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, considering residents' health symptoms. Let me play this for you and get your response.
The fire burned so intensely that county health leaders say any toxins released from the 350,000 megawatt battery facility stayed low to the ground and did not go up with a large plume of smoke. Monday, those health leaders reiterated that air monitoring conducted by the EPA did not detect levels of hydrogen fluoride above the normal range.
So the toxins just kind of stop and hang to the ground and don't go up into the air? How would they know that?
Well, obviously they consult any material safety data, or they call them safety data sheets.
So right away, you don't need to be an expert to realize that that sounded like a bunch of garbage. Yeah, it just hung to the ground. It was okay. It didn't get into the smoke. Didn't blow away. Crazy stuff. Check that out. Status Quo News. They seem to be the only independent organization in all of the United States of any size that's covering these massive environmental disasters, whether it be the latest battery fire in California, the giant fires in Los Angeles, the East Palestine rail accident last year or the year before, and a recent warehouse explosion and fire in Georgia, right in the middle of the Hurricane Helene disaster a couple 3 months ago. So they're on top of it. I'm going to move over to another quick little clip.
Just do it now. We got EPA here. We've got the federal resources here. Let's just do it. Have them do it.
I don't necessarily think that would be prudent, just to pull samples when we don't necessarily know what we're looking for at this time.
You're looking for the byproduct.
So it doesn't sound like the locals are really that interested in discovering what the problems are, which is fairly common. Again, if you follow Status Quo News and you see the situation that happened with the East Palestine rail accident, massive toxic event. That Georgia warehouse explosion and fire, like massive toxic event, and this one also. So there's a lot of downplay, and again, it's just ridiculous to hear a public official say, "Well, we didn't know. We're not really sure what we're looking for, so we're not going to take any samples or any testing, etc." Check that out. Dig into it. They're doing some great work over on the Status Quo News, and I'm sure that you will find it as interesting as I do. Hopefully. Okay, we're just going to take a quick little side jaunt over into AI and pop culture, which I thought was interesting, where it states that at least 10% of songs are fully generated by artificial intelligence now. So it found that around 10,000 AI tracks being delivered each day around 10% of the music being uploaded, and it may even be higher. So, yay. Slop. AI slop. Oh, getting back into the heroes of the world.
Charlie Angus, some of that work will need to be systemic and political, but there is work that can be done in our communities, in building up our own fragile relationships and local ecosystems. Call it climate mutual aid. Call it punk rock time. And so, yes, I am full of both dread and hope. What's the most...
Charlie Angus. Okay. Charlie Angus, Darling MP, he's set to retire here very soon once this latest government is dissolved. And that's too bad because he's really coming on as a Canadian hero standing up to Trump. You may have seen him on Midas Touch or in other news circles. He's been doing the set. And here he is on TVO, Television Ontario. Steve Paikin? Maybe is this guy's name? Anyways, he's talking about his book that he put out last year, Dangerous Memory. Charlie is an old punk rocker, like for real. So he says he's opened up for the dead Kennedys, and he's the real deal. And you can see that again in his discussion of mutual aid. So once again, we've got anarchists and punk rockers doing some good work. This one is an MP, and he is a hero. Maybe not so much a giant hero, but he's pretty heroic in the stuff that he has been doing lately. So good on you, Charlie. Oh, this guy. These are a couple guys that might actually qualify for a little bit of hero feature. Maybe, maybe not. We'll let you decide. Tom Hartman program, almost 500,000 subs. I've talked about Tom Hartman before. And what we're going to do is hear from Greg Palast.
Who won or who lost the election?
It's real simple. If not for vote suppression tactics, that's a fancy word for shafting people of color out of their vote, young people out of their vote, Kamala Harris would have won 3,565,000 votes. That's the number of voters that were denied the right to vote because they were purged or they were challenged or they had their provisional ballot thrown out. Let me give you some of the numbers. The reason I'm giving you numbers, and I've waited so long to make this report, is that I have to get the numbers from the government agencies, particularly something we call the Elections Assistance Commission. So people don't realize, I used to be a professor of statistics. I was a forensic economist. This is my specialty, the numbers, which I usually did for attorneys general and the U.S. Department of Justice and other government agencies. And so these are calculations I would do, and I have done for federal courts. So we had, are you ready for this? According to the Elections Assistance Commission, the official numbers, we had 4,776,706 voters purged from the voter rolls.
That's a lot.
Wrongly. And I'm not making this up. I had the guys from that work with the Microsoft.
I'm really surprised how many people aren't talking about Greg Palast and the work that he does. Check him out. It's excellent. I love his stuff. He is a OG muckracker. Better give that a like while I'm there. Oh, we're almost getting down to the end. This might be a little bit lengthy. We are in secular talk, so we're going to see Kyle and Crystal, Kyle and friends. But it's just those two, and they're talking about some of the issues we were on earlier, AI, power consumption, and their ultimate motivations. So let's give a quick peek.
You know, almost it feels sort of hopeless. Like it feels like the horse is already out of the barn or the train was left the station or whatever. But if you have corporations.
Okay, short-term attention span. I forgot that I wanted to keep checking in with Sandy. There she is. We're going to get back to AI here in a sec.
I will be
Sandy's
Tuesday
almost done.
Night, and
Hi,
Tuesday night
Sandy.
I'm doing Last Week in Claps because there's a lot going on. I'm doing it.
I'm taping you
so good
live right now. Oh, darn it.
Or afternoon. I forgot. It's not night.
Is she going to catch it?
And thank you.
Oh. She's going to miss my comment. Ah, darn it. Oh, that's good. She's entertaining. She brings on a lot of excellent guests. I wonder if that's AI music. I'll have to ask her about that. Oh, well. Caught the end. Let's get back. Whoop. Where are we? I think we're over here. Okay.
But if you have corporations driving the development of this and owning the tech behind this, it means, of course, they're not using AI for humanity's benefit. They're using it for their own profit maximization. Like, that's the most obvious thing in the world. And occasionally that may line up with our interests, like with, oh, ChatGPT, this is cool, you know. But by and large, no, it's going to be for mass surveillance, mass killing, mass job loss, mass denial of healthcare. And that's not me saying that. That's their own words about their ambitions for what they're developing.
The religious adherence to technological
Yes. So they're getting concerned. I thought it was kind of interesting that it seems they're almost now only starting to figure out how utterly bad capitalism is. I know that's not true. They're coming from the left, or whether, you know, are they feigning excitement? We'll see. Kyle's got a little bit of an extended ramble on here, and it'll be interesting to watch. Crystal, she at times just looks bored, and I get the impression that he runs at the mouth quite regularly. But it's something that you have to do. Like, this is the job. You got to be chatty. You got to keep talking, lest those robots get bored.
When your ideal goal is to replace people and their jobs,
right? That's what you're working towards.
So that means even if you win, even if you succeed on your terms with what you want to do, it's like this is a fucking society-changing disaster. Because it'd be one thing if we already had relatively equal power shared everywhere, and we could democratically decide everybody gets assigned an AI or a machine, and it does work for you, and you reap the benefits of it. You get paid for it. That'd be one thing. We don't live in that world. We live in a world where the bottom 80% of the country has 7% of the wealth. We live in the world where a handful of robber barons has more wealth than the bottom 90% of the country combined. That's the world we live in. So obviously, AI is going to reflect that reality. Obviously, it's going to be screwing over regular people, and this drove me crazy. Trump's announcement with his AI thing.
I mean, Kyle, seriously, didn't she just say all that?
We still have 26 million Americans who are uninsured. They don't even have health care. We just had an uptick in 18% in homeless people in this country to 770,000 people. Medical bills are still the #1 cause of bankruptcy. We still have basic, like, fucking potholes in the roads all across this country. We had all these basic-ass problems. Yeah. It's like, yeah, let's splurge $500 billion for some dumbass AI, which...
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, we got to get our priorities in order. But I think he's almost implying that the government was putting that $500 billion, and that's not how I read it. It's a private venture. They got $100 billion already set to go. I mean, there's probably going to be federal investment into that Stargate $500 billion thing. Anyways, let's ramble on, Kyle.
Is overpromised anyway, but even if they do the things that they say they want to do, we're in a lot of trouble. Like that Larry Ellison guy, he was out there saying, well, obviously citizens will be on their best behavior with my new AI creation because we're going to surveil everybody all the time.
Yeah.
He brings it up like it's like
we all want that.
Face. Like, people don't want to be spied on 24/7. The other thing he said the other day,
Well, I'm glad we're catching up with that. This has been a problem going back years and years and years and years and years. It was amplified post 9/11 with the Patriot Act and the surveillance. Many of you are well aware with the work that Edward Snowden did in uncovering how the government had massive surveillance. Basically, they're catching everything. They got a clamp on all the data flowing, and they're intercepting it and using it for their own good. And now we're discovering that giant AI corporations, they're in America, they're just coming out saying, you know, we're gonna be able to deploy this AI to have real-time 24/7 365 surveillance on everybody in society. Now, some of you might remember how crazy that sounded at the beginning of the pandemic, and people were going on about certain technologies, and it was going to be for, you know, all the surveillance, and people were comparing the social credit system that was coming online in China and saying that, you know, with all these new technologies coming on board via the pandemic, we are going to soon be like them under surveillance. And a lot of that sort of talk, it kind of got steered off into the radical right, if you will, and thereby forgotten about the center and left folks like Kyle and Crystal. So it's good to see that we're now coming around to discuss these larger issues like surveillance and AI. A little bit more, Kyle.
Sure, you saw this. We're going to have personalized mRNA vaccines for everybody to prevent them from getting cancer that can be made by AI robotics in 48 hours. It's like, first of all, You're full of fucking shit.
I saw a lot of medical experts that were like, that's not
total
how
bullshit.
this is going to work.
Okay, we are being run not just by robber barons, y'all, but by...
So this touches on the little bit earlier when they were talking about that mind control technology and how technology is neutral. And that's kind of the line of goods that were sold, that the technology is neutral and it's only the actor that's using that technology that makes it bad or makes it good. I would argue that that is not necessarily the case. That technology often has underlying motives when it's being developed, and then it's sold as this is what it's good for. These are the positive aspects of it. Kyle touches on it earlier when he comments about how we might have been better off. Not all technological development is good. For example, nuclear weapons, and how we would definitely be better off if we hadn't innovated to get nuclear weapons. Now, if you go back in the history, and some of you might be old enough to remember, following the obliteration of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the American government needed to find a way to keep this train rolling. So they basically introduced the friendly atom, the peaceful atom. So this is the goods that was sold to the public. There was no talk about the weapons production or the radiation or the toxicity of the byproducts, the health issues, the cancers. There's no talk about that stuff. It's just a promotion of, unlimited amounts of cheap electricity that was built up over the decades. And it wasn't for the electricity. It was to build the nuclear weapons arsenals. Okay, so just be very, very careful when people come around saying they've got this great technology and it's going to help humanity and it's going to do all these great things for our health and all these things. Chances are there's some other motives and issues that aren't being discussed.
Snake oil salesmen and con men. That's who now has consolidated power in this country. Snake oil salesmen and robber barons. This is an ugly place to be, bro. Yeah. And again, we need voices to fight back against this. I'm now on team. We should make a stand against further AI development.
I agree.
Against it. No, this is actually a bad idea.
And it's already
That's her agreeable face.
So far along. It's deeply troubling. And there's a real tie-in, a direct tie-in to with the climate crisis, because so this
energy
alleged $500 billion, what it's going to go to do is to build out data centers, which are incredibly power hungry. The carbon footprint on this is absolutely massive. That's part of why, he's always ideologically been drill, baby, drill. But that's the other direction is we need more and more and more fossil fuel resources to fuel this AI development that no one asked for. And then the other piece of this is, of course, the way they lie to you, they want to act like some poor mom from, Guatemala is the one who's a threat to your job. And meanwhile, they're hosting these motherfuckers at the White House who are out and out, just overtly we're taking your job. Our goal is to destroy everyone's job.
Yeah, so that sucks. But regarding the power issue that Crystal is talking about, the Stargate project, when I first read about it, there was 5 data power centers, and the combined power need is 5 gigawatt nuclear reactor need for each power center. 5 nuclear reactors to run this project. Now, of course, they can't build the nuclear reactors in time to power these things. 3 Mile Island, I think Microsoft or one of those companies, OpenAI maybe, is planning to reboot 3 Mile Island for some of their power needs. But we're going to see a massive, massive, massive build out of fossil fuel infrastructure, and soon the AI, it's already competing with real human needs for energy, and we'll see where that goes. Are they going to go Skynet on our arses? I don't know. Anyways, that's, I think, the end of my show. Fairly painless, I hope. My name is Kelly Green. Check out the description in the show notes of this particular video, and you'll find the links for all of this wonderful stuff over here. I think what I'm going to do is just play out the remainder of Sisyphus and wish you all a very good day.